Do you run Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365 and your users are complaining about slow logons, slacking performance, that kind of thing? If you do, then today I've got a great video for you. So today we're going to explore something called the Virtual Desktop Optimization Pack, right? So the Virtual Desktop Optimization Pack is basically something which will strip out any unnecessary services from your images, your session hosts, or your Windows 365 desktops, and it will make the user experience a lot better. All right, so we're going to do a deep dive today. We're going to show you what's changed, what's removed, and how to implement it as well. Okay, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the Virtual Mount YouTube channel. On this channel, we explore the latest news around Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 365, Intune, Nerdio, that kind of thing, and much, much more. All right, so if that's the kind of content that you do, then please hit that like and subscribe button. And this is the type of stuff that I bring you every week. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so what exactly is the Virtual Desktop Optimization Tool, otherwise known as VDOT? It's essentially a PowerShell script which just removes all the unnecessary rubbish from your images, right? And what that does, that basically enables the user experience to be much better, right? The logons quicker, because we remove all the AppX packages, and essentially the resource usage on the host are much less, right? Because we don't have all the unnecessary stuff running, which also means you can put more users onto the host and therefore hopefully reduce the cost of your environment as well. For Windows 365 desktops as well, it means a much faster logon experience for the users. And again, the desktop should be a bit less laggy because we've removed all the stuff that we don't need from it, essentially. Right, so let's go and have a look at this solution and see what it actually is, right? So I'm going to go over to my desktop. Okay, so this is the GitHub repo, and this is essentially where we download it from. So in today's video, we're going to show you how to download this, and then we're going to run it against a session host. I'm not going to run it against the image, and I'll explain why into the video. But if you want to see before and after comparison, towards the end of the video, we're going to show you, hey, how many services I've got running, how many processes I've got running, and then we'll do a quick comparison side by side, maybe a log on time as well. Okay. All right. So this is the GitHub repo that we've got here. Let's close it down. And you can see we've got a couple of different folders in here. Don't worry, we'll go on to an actual session host and we'll look at it shortly, but this is the introduction to it, and it basically tells you how to run it, and then it gives you a bit of information about AppX packages and that kind of stuff as well. So if you need to download it, all you need to do essentially is to go to code and then just downloads it, and then that'll download it onto a zip file, from the zip file onto your local machine, and then from that we can have a look at the contents of it. So let's go and do that now. So this is the unzip file, and this is what the files consist of, right? So as you can see here, we've got a couple of PowerShell scripts. So this is the main one that we run here, but the bulk of the configuration actually sits inside this folder here, which is 2009, which is the latest version. Okay, and you can go into here. There's some images in there as well, just graphics. But if we go into here, what we have configuration files, right? And this is what we actually configure on the actual VMs themselves. So we've got a couple of different stuff that it does. So we can see we've got AppX packages, we've got services. So let's just take a quick look and see what's actually in these. So if I go to AppX packages, I'm just going to open that with my VS Code. And basically what this is actually settings which you change. So you can see here for the AppX packages, it's set to unchanged. But if you wanted to include those, we just need to change this VDI state, right? So you can see here, it's going to remove all the stuff that you don't want, like Bing Weather, desktop installer, which you need if you use Winget. Now, the reason why they've set this to unchanged is because obviously there's some stuff in here which you may want to keep. So for example, the desktop app installer, you may want that, right? Otherwise you won't be able to install apps from the Windows Store or use Winget. But maybe you don't want all like the Xbox stuff, right? Or maybe Microsoft Paint or people, all that kind of stuff. So it enables you to go in and basically change that as to how you want it within your environment, right? So make sure you come in there and customize it as how you need it. And then, for example, we've got like edge settings. So let's take a quick look at that. So this basically configures all the different settings that we've got for edge that we can use. And then we've got stuff like services. So I can go in there and this will basically configure all of these different services to disabled because you don't want them. So obviously what we recommend is go through and have a look and see which one of these is particular to your environment. And as I said before, towards the end of the video, we're going to go before and after, and then we're going to basically show the differences between an optimized versus unoptimized session host. So now we're actually going to go and run this thing. Okay, let me see what it looks like now. What I've actually done, I've actually edited some files, so some settings that I want to change. This is the app packages. So this basically removes some of the app packages. Now these affect logon time. right? Because basic Windows has to enumerate all the app packages. For stuff like the Xbox stuff, I've just set that to VDI state to disabled. Some stuff like Windows Maps I've kept in there just in case people need it. Windows Calculator I've kept in there to unchanged. And then if you just go up here as well, basically it's all the stuff which you think may be useful. And we just keep in that sticky notes. People may need that. But stuff like Edge Game Assist, I've set desktop installer set to unchanged because that is the Winget stuff which it needs. So yeah, you need to go through this and basically decide, right, which ones will be useful inside my environment. Okay. All right, so they've been changed. So you can see here, I've copied those up into this file here. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to run this. So this is the PowerShell commands that we need to run to basically run this PowerShell script. So I'm just going to go into here. I need to be administrator, right? So you can see there, I'm administrating the PowerShell prompt. And then we're just going to run this in here. So it's basically making sure we run the script. So we're going to say, yes, we're on here. Run once. Okay. You can see here, this is the script which is basically running, and it's applying all the settings which we told it to. So we'll give that a sec, just see that run through, and then we'll see what it's removing. You can see there removing all the Copilot stuff, all the Cortana stuff, all the Xbox gaming stuff. Okay, and it's now completed. So you can see it's saying a reboot is required for all changes to take effect. Just have a quick look and see what's been set here. We can see here these are the optimization settings. So stuff like disable animations, right? Disable inline video stuff. Remove all the Microsoft Edge books library, that kind of stuff, just to make the experience a bit snappier for the user. And then we've got stuff like disable all the services that we don't need. So disable all the Xbox services that we don't need and want. So yeah, just make the operating system much lighter, essentially. And then all the sort of scheduled tasks, which it doesn't need as well. So again, that will help lead the system performance that it needs, as well as all the AppX packages that we told it to remove. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to reboot this VM, and then we'll log on, just make sure nothing's broken, make sure I can still log on. And then what we'll do some comparisons around a machine that's not been optimized versus a machine that has been optimized, like compare the processes running, the memory usage, that kind of thing. And then we'll end the video after that. All right. So go ahead and reboot it, and then we'll see where we're at then. All right. Let's go and log on to that machine, and let's just see what the experience is like after we've done the optimization. So just click on connect. All right. So we're now logging onto the VM. So in theory, it should be a few seconds quicker just to because it doesn't have to load all this stuff in the background. This is just loading my FHLT profile. So yeah, there we go. So we just, for example, let's go and check the Xbox services just to make sure that they've been disabled. And now if we go down, for example, and we just head down the list, we should see, yes, so we go here, we can have a look, and we can see that the Xbox services have now been disabled. So they're just one of the few that we disabled. And now that we've done this, what we're going to do, we're just going to go onto a VM which is not optimized. And then we're going to take a quick look at Task Manager and look at the different processes running, see how many are running. And then we'll look at the services as well, see how many services are actually running as well. And then obviously that'll show you the differences between unoptimized versus optimized as to what the actual resource usage is like. Okay. All right. So let's now take a look at the differences between the two and see if this is worth doing or not, right? Because that's probably the question which is on most of your minds is, do I actually need to do this? What am I going to gain from this? All right. So let's go and have a look. So first of all, we're looking at the non-optimized machine, right? So what I've done, I've got a quick PowerShell script here, which is basically showing the differences between the two. We can see we've got memory usage at 2.9. We've got CPU usage at 5%. We've got 156 processes running. And we've got 1577 threads running, all right? So I've done a quick summary below that here as well. So you can see the number of scheduled tasks enabled. We've got 214. And we've got 271 services running. So we've got 97 services running, my bad. And we've got 103 AppX packages. So we've got 3 startup apps, and then we've got 158 processes running. So that's the current usage on a machine which has not been optimized. Now, over the years, Microsoft have improved it. We are running the Microsoft Marketplace machine, right, image. So that's multi-session. So they have done some optimizations to it. So this used to be a critical thing to do, but over the years, it has got a bit better because Microsoft have included some default optimizations, not everything, but they've done a better job than they used to. So now let's take a look at an optimized machine, right? Just see what the differences are there. And what I'll do as well on the video, I'll add side-by-side screenshots like optimized versus non-optimized, so you'll be able to see those. So let's head over to an optimized machine. and we can see the differences there, right? So this is the VM which has been optimized. So again, we can see CPU around 4 to 5%, but the biggest difference is we'll look at like the processes running and the threads running, right? So I can see here processes running on this machine is 154, 146 in a moment, compared to non-optimized, which is like 159 or 158 there. So we can see there is a bit of a drop in processes, so we have 10 less processes running on the optimized machine. And we can also see as well the number of AppX packages. All right, so the AppX packages there, we've got 88 installed, whereas in a non-optimized machine, we can see we've got 103 AppX packages installed. Services running on a non-optimized machine, we've got 97 running, whereas on the optimized machine, we have 92. So that's probably mostly the Xbox services that we've disabled in there as well. I guess for me, in summary, it won't make a humongous difference, right? But if you're running a session host and you've got, I don't know, 15, 20 users logging onto it, it will make a difference. The logon time will be a bit quicker because it doesn't have to load all the AppX packages or enumerate them. And also the optimization stuff around like the sort of shadowing and graphics and stuff will make the user experience just a bit snappier as well. So I don't think this is like groundbreaking. It's not going to enable you to suddenly fit like 10 more users onto your session host, but it's something which I always recommend running because why not, right? You don't need those Xbox services. We're just making the user experience that much better, right? And as you can saw from the video, it only took a few minutes to run that as well. So I guess the other question which people ask is how and where should I run this? Now, I don't recommend running it in the image because it does remove stuff. And when you remove stuff, it's difficult to add stuff back in, right? So I always recommend running this on a session host when the session host has been provisioned or during provisioning stage, right? So obviously you can take this script, you can add this script into your DevOps pipeline, or you can run it as a VM extension as well. We can run it via Nerdio as well. So just to let you know, so what I'll do in a second, I'll just go into the Nerdio screen and then I'll show you exactly how to do that. But as I say, if you don't use Nerdio, you can just either run it as a scheduled task maybe, or you could ideally put it into your DevOps pipeline or whatever, your image builder script process or anything like that. So I'm just going to head over to the Nerdio console now and show you how we can do that within Nerdio, okay? All right, so we're in the Nerdio console. So within Nerdio, we've actually added this as what we call a scripted action, okay? So we can see here we've got the virtual desktop optimization. So this has not been updated in a while because there's not been that many changes to the native one either. But you can see here, this is basically just a PowerShell script where we've basically ported all the settings into here. So you can see this is all the AppX packages that it's going to be removing. And this will be all the services that we saw we're going to disable. And then also the default settings that we're going to put in there as well. So this is basically just another way of running the script that we just saw previously, okay? How do we run this? So again, we can run this against a session host or we can run against an image. Definitely recommend running against a session host, as we discussed. So what we can actually do as well, I can go here. So if I wanted to run this against my non-optimized VM, for example, I can just come into here and I can go to here and I can go to run scripts and then just select like the optimization one here. So I'm going to select this one and then just select run now. Okay, so then that'll then go ahead and run that. How would you do it if you wanted to do it against every session host that you're deploying? So the way you would do that, if I go onto my host book, so if I go to settings, and then basically what we can do then is when the machines are deployed, we can tell it to run this script every time. So I'm going to go to virtual machines in here. Okay, so here we've got run scripted actions when the host VM is created, started, stopped, or removed. So I'm going to go to created and then run the scripted actions before or after the VM's done the host pull, or we can run it immediately after the VM is created. So I think for this one, I'll run it when it's created. So I'm just going to select here, go to Virtual Desktop Optimization, save and close, and that's pretty much all I have to do, right? And what that will then do is every time a new host is provisioned, it will just run that Virtual Desktop Optimization script for you, okay? Nice, quick and easy, okay? All right, so yeah, that's the Virtual Desktop Optimization tool. That's how we run it. That's how we configure it. That's how we edit it. And that's also how you can do it within Nerdio. So I guess just a quick summary. Do what I recommend running this. Yes, it doesn't cost anything. It just takes 3 or 4 minutes to run, and it will give your users a better experience, and it will also slightly enable resource utilization a bit better, right? So rather than using all unnecessary resources and optimizing the resources running, maybe you could fit 1 or 2 extra sessions onto the host after running this. Now, this used to be a really popular thing back in when you were like, I don't know, had like hosts with 256 gigs of RAM and you were putting like 50, 60 users on a session host. These days, because workloads running obviously in Azure, and we don't really do that anymore because we've got the economies of scale. So rather than create like 1 big host and put 60 users on it, I can just create 6 hosts and put 10 users on each. And the requirements for that then become a lot less, right? Because it doesn't really matter much anymore. But I still recommend it, as I said, purely for the user experience. Like the users are going to get a bit snappy at logon because they don't have the AppX packages, and it's just a bit less resource utilization as well. So yeah, so my recommend is definitely run it. No reason why you shouldn't do. So yeah, take a look at that script. If you've got any questions, please just drop a comment in the comments below. And also tell me in the comments, like, do you run this inside your environment? If you're using like even Citrix or Nissa, do you run optimization scripts, AVD, Windows 365? Because they're all applicable, right? And this is not just for AVD multi-session hosts. You can do this on single session host. You can do it on Citrix. You can do it on MSA. You can do it on multiple platforms, right? Interested to hear your feedback and comments about that. All right, so that's it for this week's video. As usual, I hope you found it useful. I hope you learned something. I know I always do every time I create these. Yeah, I will speak to you next week and have a good week. Thanks. Bye-bye.